the collation process, and so far it's been much slower than people had expected. So the question now is, could this have been much faster?
Definitely. Well, a lot of suggestions have been made, and they seem to all point at improved use of technology. Well, that's not bad. But then it begs the question, is it possible to improve the process with technology without compromising the result?
We'll find that answer. Let's find out from an ICT expert, Mr. Wande Adelemo, who is joining us now live via Skype. Thank you so much for joining us at the moment. All right, so I know you can hear me right now, but there's been a lot of talk about Election Day and some of the issues that came up. But let's shift our attention to the collation and actually the announcement of the result. How do you rate the process so far?
Well, I think the collation process, from an ITC perspective, can be better. It can be a lot better than what it is right now. But again, when we talk about ICT as a factor in electoral processes and collation of results, there are certain factors that come to bear.
Okay.
If we look at INEC as it is now, from simple databases, simple automated processes, Excel sheets are being used. So there's some level of ICT being used in this election at the moment. However, if we look at the question of ICT, people are actually talking about e-voting, not the processes of collation itself. They're saying if you can do e-voting, then it can be faster. Well, it will interest us to note that even countries that are far more advanced democratically than we are have abandoned e-voting. The Netherlands, France, Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom have abandoned e-voting for the normal pen and paper voting system. And the reason is simple. Once you cannot determine the quality of the results, once you cannot determine the security, the integrity of what you're doing, then it calls into question the entire process itself. So yes, while ICT can make it faster, in Nigeria, infrastructure is a huge, huge challenge. And let us not forget that INEC has a limited period of time to aggregate all these results over a diverse geographical region. And some regions are more developed than others. We don't have broadband access, and the limited technologies we have ensure that it is difficult to collate over other people's networks. So when you want to use a network as an example, you want to use one of the operators, are we sure that it's not subject to interference and sabotage? So it's a step at a time. Yes, it can be faster. Yes, you can improve on technology. People have suggested all kinds of technology. But the question is, even the card readers are using, are they local? Are they made here? Are we sure that it's not been tampered with? These are questions that ICT involvement in electoral processes raise, which is why most governments worldwide, and not just Nigeria, take their time before they decide they want to go full e-ICT, because of the issues of security, because of the issues of integrity of the results at the end of the day.
Okay, now that you're talking about integrity and all that, that's really important, especially if you want to have free, fair, and credible elections. But let's look inwards now. Now, you mentioned something about the card readers, for example. You asked if they are produced in Nigeria, for example. I mean, you mentioned that. So looking inwards, do you think we have that capacity to sustain the electoral process technologically right here in Nigeria?
Okay, so do you do transfers with your money from one bank to the other?
That's classified.
So if we do that, and it is run by young Nigerian entrepreneurs who have built that system, Remita, InterSwitch, PFS. You can mention PFS is the company that does the checking of the processing of our checks from one bank to the other. Remita is the one that does trillions of naira for government monies and private sector monies every single month. InterSwitch does trillions of naira of transfers of funds. There's needs. These are local systems built by people here, and it works. Now, if that works in a more sensitive finance industry, how much less will it work where it has to do with a 1 to 2 to 3 to 6 hour transaction that ends within 2 to 3 days, as the case may be? If we had looked inwards, we probably would have found people who could have done an end-to-end solution to us. Now, the card readers we're using are imported. I understand one of the resident electoral commissioners from Akwa Ibom saying that the network is like Turaya. We saw what happened to those networks while the elections were going on. One of the critical things that countries look at before they say they want to do e-voting or go along the e-voting line is that they ask themselves the question, what is the local content of my e-voting strategy? So, as an example, people got to the polling stations and the polling units, and they had to start looking at pasted documents for their identities and if they could vote at those centers. If there was a homegrown solution, and there are a plethora of them around that has been built, where they could, by an SMS, by some smartphone, by some QR code, just read something at the polling unit and show that they're eligible to vote at that unit. But again, because most of these devices and systems are imported, there's no integration whatsoever, which is why the homegrown system, where you pick think tanks from home and say, I want an end-to-end solution, and INS give them the mandate and tells them, I want a database for my voters. I want my voters to be able to register online. I want my voters to be able to check wherever they are, which can now lead to vote from wherever you are, because it's a homegrown solution anyway. It's not a mix and match solution like we have it now, which is what is slowing down the process because the systems are not completely integrated. No. You can see that at the collation centers, there's a lot of paperwork still going on. Paperwork is still what they use at the end of the day. So if we had a homegrown system, we would have eliminated all of this because the entire end-to-end system will have been integrated. The same way we have financial institutions integrated and all network, because they are mostly homegrown solutions.
Mr. Wande, now you said something about end-to-end earlier, and my concern now is anonymity. People should not know who you voted for. That's like one of the top concerns of voting. So don't you think that might undermine anonymity if your vote can actually be traced to you?
Okay, so if we're still talking about e-voting, right, which is the actual the end product of all of this discussion, there are three types. So you have the direct voting e-machine that you look like an ATM system, but with touch screens. So you go into that pool, and then you press your ballot, and then you go on. Then there is the internet-ready system, like the type they use in Estonia. Estonia, you can vote from anywhere. You can vote from your home, and we identify you. As we speak, you have your BVN, you have your National Identity Management System. So everyone knows who you are, but they don't know who you're voting for because it's anonymous. Then the third one is the one that actually reads the ballot paper. That one goes into a machine after the voter has voted. It goes into a machine, and then it takes and sends the results immediately to the collation center. Again, the voting has been done anonymously, while you are identified as a person, but we don't know who you voted for, either with the direct option, either with the internet-ready option, or the ballot machine option. It's still anonymous at the point of voting. However, when we talk about the ICT importance of the entire process, it does not mean that we will not identify you as a voter. Even right now, INEC needs to know you as a voter, which is why you have your PVC. So electronically, we need to identify you as a bona fide citizen of the country and are eligible to vote. But at the point of voting, it becomes anonymous. We don't know who you are voting for. It's done electronically and transmitted electronically. But that's where the fear also comes in. Can it not be hijacked? Can it not be hacked? Again, like I said earlier, countries like the United States, like Canada, like Japan, the Netherlands and France have tried e-voting so that they can aid collation and aid faster results. But they have to abandon it because they realize that cyber war could start from there. Some countries could hijack the entire electoral process and put whoever they want in there.
So I guess
Okay.
we're probably just stuck with
Just
pen and
stuck
paper.
with pen and paper, right?
Yeah, so in some municipalities in the US and in some counties in the UK, they have some direct voting machines in some places, but not nationwide.
All right.
So when you want to do municipality voting, you could do e-voting for that small space.
Okay.
But nationwide voting, they still use their ballot papers and their thumb printing.
All right, so I guess we'll get to that stage where we'll find other options that will be better for the electoral umpire and better for the voters. Thank you so much, ICT expert Wande Adalemo, for your time on Pollstream. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it too.
You're welcome.